open. So now it looks like Ravi is recording the session as well. But I don't want you to be shy about asking questions. This is actually, an open session, a very conversational session. So Padmini, Prashanti's iPhone, Ranjana, Soumya. I have a couple of other people, so I'm going to quickly, let you guys just holler your name. Tell me one thing, a hobby or something that you would like to share. So I'm going to start there. Ravi, do you mind calling out names? Because I have some as 124 Raji, and I don't want to do that, but
her name is Raji. You can call her Raji.
Okay.
Yeah,
Raji,
she's from Charlotte, actually. Raji is from Charlotte.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Raji, you want to go first? You can come off mute and say something. And it's okay if you have
a couple more minutes. I'm just going to a quieter place right now. I'll speak in a couple more minutes.
Raji, so that's fine. We're going to give Raji a couple of more minutes. But I just want you to know that what I'm demonstrating right now is how the world has changed. So we are in 2022. And in the past, we were all in person. There were no distractions. But now in 2022, with the way things are, it's okay if you're not in the most perfect place. But I'll explain what I'm trying to do once we finish these introductions. So I'm going to call out on Alice. Alice Karuna, you want to go next?
Hi,
hello, sir.
Alice. Yeah.
Hello, sir. Good evening. My name is Alice. I'm from Atlanta. My hobbies are reading books and listening to music.
Anna, you're talking on mute.
So, Alice, what are you currently listening
to? At present, I'm not listening to music. I'm listening to your words.
No, in general.
In general.
In general, I mostly listen to the soft music and mostly Christian songs, sir.
Okay, awesome. So, Alice, you have to wean yourself off the habit of saying sir, okay? So, okay. One of the blessings of America is that you can be casual with people. And while I do understand where you're coming from, in the workplace, even if you're offshore and working with people on site, and whether you're working with Indian people or British people in a workplace environment, you can just call them by their first name. Or it's okay to ask somebody how they want to be addressed and say, what would you like me to call you? And that is a fair question. So whoever wants to go next, I see a couple of iPhones here.
Hi, Clarence. This is Prashanti. Hi, good evening. Glad to see you. I'm from Chicago.
Awesome.
My hobbies are reading books and or listening to God's word. That's what I can say.
Awesome. So go ahead.
Yeah, presently I'm working as a teacher, a full-time teacher, and taking care of the kindergartners and enjoying all their cute and naughty stuff at the school.
So how has back to school been for you and your students?
Yeah, it's so good. Kind of sometimes it's overwhelming, but I enjoyed with the kids.
Awesome. Well, I wanted to start this session by saying something that I recently heard. And it's a quote where the only way that you can touch the future is to be a teacher. And that is actually very true in your case. Yes, there is no other way to influence the future except teachers. Nobody else touches the future. So I wanted to say that about Ravi as well. One of the things I like about the ministry that Ravi does, the kind of things that he is involved with. He's always teaching, and after a lot of thought, I realized that this is the only sure shot way to touch the future. Otherwise mostly people live in the past, or most people are trying to live in the present, which is like right now become the mantra in corporate America as well. So I'm going to point out these evolutions, but Prashanti, thank you for that introduction. Wonderful to meet you. Who wants to go next?
Friends, come on,
Hey,
come
Clarence.
forward. Yeah.
Hey, Clarence. This is Jerusha. I'm from Atlanta, and my hobbies are gardening, singing, gospel songs, and I'm from educational background with computers knowledge, and also I'm taking a break from being a teacher, and I started a small boutique right now.
Awesome.
And at the same time, I'm learning the computer IT courses. And I'm so happy that you took time for all of us and be a part of this. And thank you so much for this time and the opportunity.
Absolutely. So Jerusha, sorry to interrupt, but are you the one who sent me a LinkedIn invite? Are we connected on LinkedIn?
Yes, sir. When I came to know that you're going to speak, so I'm the one who sent that.
Awesome. So I'm very glad to be connected. Now I know who to get some fashion advice from, since you're running a boutique. So that is wonderful. We have a couple of teachers, and I'm excited for people making transitions. This is an art that we all need to master, because the only level of competence that we need to show is the ability to change. If we have that one competence, everything else can be accomplished. So I really admire all of you, actually, from what Ravi has told me, that many of you are kind of looking for something new and are going to try and are going through transitions. And, and so I congratulate all of you on being here. So who wants to go next?
Hi, this is Soumya.
Hello,
I'm
Soumya.
from hi. I'm from Charlotte, and I moved to US in 2011. That time, due to the visa restriction, I was not able to work. But before that, I was working in India in the financial institute, and I have studied finance. So then I got busy with my kids and all the family responsibilities. So I again trying to get back into the in the job world, especially in the IT environment. So I started exploring. Everything was so new for me. So from the last year, I just started looking in which area I can go. I'm more into the designing thing, and I like little bit the. As I said, I'm from the financial background, so I like the numbers also. So I started looking. So I started with the Tableau, and I would like to say that Raviji started this group, and he's always very motivating and all. He gave me the chance to use my knowledge also to come forward and teach the Tableau knowledge, whatever I've gained so far among all the participants here. So it gave me a very good confidence also. And I was kind of like, okay, I can learn the things and I can move forward slowly like that. So it boosts my confidence. So I'm still trying and learning new things slowly to get into this IT field. Thank
Awesome.
you.
So how old are your kids, Soumya?
They are 6 and 7.
6 and 7. That is a real fun age.
Yes.
So I would say enjoy that. And, I am making notes as you all are talking. And I want to point out a few things that mothers in particular, and working mothers specifically, worry about, at least, and by the way, I used to live in Charlotte. So I used to live in South Park area, and I relocated to Austin last August. So I'm not sure if we have come across each other in Charlotte, but it's wonderful to meet you, Soumya, and thank you for sharing your experience about teaching. That's something that we'll talk about later as well.
Thank you.
So, who's next?
Good evening, Clarence and Ravi brother. This is Prashanti Shekhar. I'm from Delaware, and currently I'm working as system administrator. Previously, I was into IT, but after moving here due to visa instructions, I took a long break of 10 years and then started back. So currently I'm with CAI and I'm working as a system admin, and I love to do gardening. The spring is coming, so I'm getting ready. And I do have, some I like cooking, and I like cooking also. So most of the time, like I spend in the kitchen or in the, since it is remote, either before the system or before the stove. So yeah, I'm enjoying currently. Thank you for your time.
Absolutely. Well, delighted to meet you, Prashanti. And it looks like you're great at multitasking from what you're describing. So I will tell you, one of the big advantages of this pandemic has been it has brought out our cooking and baking skills in a lot of people. At least the other thing is, this is a personal experience. I love to cook as well. I grew up in Hyderabad, and I learned cooking at langars, large gatherings, both church and family and friends. And I always used to be in charge of food and food preparation and delivery and things like that. So that's how I learned, cooking in bulk. And I realized that I think a dish well made is like a small success that you can instantly enjoy.
Right.
So who's next? I see Nancy. I have.
Hi, this is Nancy. I'm from Chicago. Happy to meet you, brother. I finished my master's in computer applications, and I worked in a Mallareddy Engineering College. I hope you know that college.
Oh, I know Mr. Mallareddy too.
Yeah. So after that, I moved to. After my marriage, I moved to Chicago. Then, because of visa restrictions, I cannot work. I have one kid. I'm enjoying with him. My hobbies are teaching my son and reading. Learn new things.
So, Nancy, what are you currently reading?
I'm currently reading about how to teach kids.
Okay.
And I'm trying to learn the artificial intelligence, only basics. I'm trying why that is that much more effectively working these days. I have so many questions on that. I'm trying to learn. That's it.
Okay, well, that is wonderful, Nancy. Thank you. And again, I am a big fan of design thinking, and I'll share more about that. And I'm also a big fan of Maria Montessori, the Italian lady who actually came to India and made Montessori education popular in India. So I want to talk more about that and how it actually relates to what we are doing in Agile on the IT side.
Oh, okay.
So Meena, Ranjana, Tushara, I see your names. Raji, I hope you're back. Any one of you can go.
Hi, my name is Ranjana. Nice to meet you, and thank you for your time. I live in Alabama, Hoover, and as everybody said, I also initially had difficulties to start my career back in US. So I recently took up a position in UIB, Alabama, and I'm working as a program coordinator. But I wanted to do something new or study something which involves both technology and management. So I'm just taking a few courses with Ravi Anna's guidance. And my hobbies are I paint and I draw and I cook. I love to cook. And yeah, that's it.
You know, we have so many people who are interested in cooking. At some point, we should all gather up at a common place, rent an Airbnb, and have a cooking competition. Because, you know, I have a lot of friends from Lucknow and you know, different regions in India, and you know, everybody claims they can make biryani, and I'm like, I get excited, and I'm one of these competitive people who you can very easily get excited into getting into competitive cooking. So, but it's exciting to meet you, Ranjana. Thank you for sharing that, and congratulations on starting your role and this journey, right? So, a lot of you, it seems like you're coming after a break or taking a break, or, you know, because of visa conditions. And that's something that we have, you know, every time I participate in any political conversation, and our community is one of the big donors, we always bring this up, that, you know, spouses need to be able to work. And, you know, countries like Germany and UK are much more liberal. And it took a lot of advocacy before those laws were changed to allow dependents to be able to work. And we continue to work on the immigration side where, you know, our community, the Southeast Asian community is no different from any other demographic in this country. We have our own family problems and issues and all of that. And those usually get, you know, more difficult because of dependent visas and things like that. So that is an area that, that I work with. And, you know, we've lived in Charlotte for 9 years, and we were heavily involved in the community there, addressing issues like this. So, you know, and they're a reality of life, right? So the reason I'm sharing that is, don't discount your ability to influence decision-making. In fact, America is one country where I think everybody gets a fair chance to be heard. Like when I write to senators about immigration issues, they are so responsive. And I see that even in India today, like, you know, I want to point out something, right? So the reason I'm asking you to be comfortable on video is recently Osmania University invited me to give a couple of lectures on what is next in human capital development. So the university has launched a new program called, they have a new center now called Center for Human Capital Development. The central government and the state government is heavily encouraging that. And the question I get asked is, how has the world changed, and how should I prepare for the new world that is emerging? And I was talking to some professors and head of departments, and I said, if there is one skill you can give people, is to be comfortable communicating on camera and off camera. Because now, as we increasingly go to a hybrid model, where we are actually engaging in a workplace through these new tools that we have, both audio and video, and also systems that, you know, like channels of communication, right? Like, you know, take anything, you know, whether it is social media or working in Microsoft Teams, all of that is new stuff for a lot of people. And 5 years back, if you said, I want to be remote and work, your managers would say, quit or, you know, come to work. But today, if you look at job postings, a majority of them openly say that they're remote positions. And this is not just at the developer development level. These are even in senior roles. Like I know I'm right now in Austin, Texas, and I know for a fact that there is a lot of executives whose offices are based out of California or Seattle or somewhere else in the country, but they are actually working remote. That was a big no-no in corporate America just a few years back. So the pandemic has certainly changed things, right? So for people who are coming in, there has never been a better time. There are 11 million job openings right now in America, and unemployment rate, that is people who are willing to work and are able to work, is at like a lowest ever in 60 years. It's like 3%. So to put that in comparison, like 40% of India's workforce doesn't work, right? In any shape or form. They are homemakers, they're doing other things, or they're old and retired, or they're young people. But if you take working age people, 40% of that workforce in India is not actually engaged in any sort of commerce activity. So imagine, compare that to 3% here, which means, there is a lot of demand for labor now. So this is a great time to come in because companies are like desperate for workers and people who can do, and they're willing to give people a chance. And this is something you have to keep in mind as you enter the workforce and as you interview for positions, because it's working to your advantage. And this advantage may not be around for a long time, right? So after a year or so, some of the work will get outsourced. Some people will come into the country. We are talking about bringing, 10,000 Ukrainians, right? They're going to go into an English language program and start doing stuff. So all of those things have lined up in a way where for folks like you who are in this forum, there has never been a better time to enter the workforce or try something new, because a lot of people are trying something new. So my wife and I have this conversation, right? And they're calling it, the great resignation, right? Like people are actually resigning left and right because they want to try new things. It's not that they don't want to work. They don't want to work under the conditions that employers are imposing or want them to work under. So they're looking for ways to either get more flexibility or get more pay. And for women in particular, my wife actually shared this term with me. She says, this is the great aspiration for women. And she was on a forum talking about that. And she says, for women executives, for women who are coming into the workforce, they are not quitting because they want to be part of the great resignation. They actually want to be part of the great aspiration. And that is, finding new things to do or better things to do and to find more balance in your life. So I'll stop there and let the next person go. Meena? Aishwarya?
Yeah, praise the Lord.
Oh, praise the
This is
Lord.
Meena. Yeah, same as I had a big break between we moved to US in 2011, and then because of family and everything, I didn't continue my career. And then now I thought of starting it back. Before that, I used to work as a faculty in engineering college.
Which one?
I was working in JNTU, brother.
In Kukatpalli?
Yeah, I was there for a couple of years, and then Anantapur too.
Awesome, JNTU Anantapur. I have friends from both places actually. I went to CIT, which is near Gandipet in Hyderabad.
Yeah, I know it too.
So wonderful. What did you teach at JNTU?
I'm basically a chemical engineer.
Awesome.
Yeah. And then last 2000, last before year, I was thinking, because of this online and hybrid courses and all, I thought of joining in a master's again here. And then I did in engineering, master's in engineering management. And this year I have to submit my capstone project and everything. So
wonderful.
I'm just looking for opportunities. I don't know. We were thinking on it. Yeah, and I have two kids. One is 9-year-old and the other one is 1-year-old. And the time goes like that with them. And same as other sisters, I have a habit of cooking. I love cooking. I wanted to try new dishes. And I'm moving on to vegan. It's kind of. And then my elder one, I started homeschooling. So this year it's became busy for me with 1-year-old and the homeschooler and the studies. And my husband works from home. All 4 of us stays at home and then do work. That's what my life goes, brother.
Wonderful, wonderful, Meena. And it looks like you're managing all of this well from what you're telling me. And, you know, I'll be honest with you, you know, if we are allowed to talk about, you know, personal, I was telling people that when we said yes to being married to this person, a lot of us were hoping that, you know, 10 hours in the day, that person is at work and you don't have to deal with them, right? But now you see when people are working from home, and this is true even in my case, like my wife's office is like a stone throw away from where we live. She loves working from home. But I told her that both of us can't be on conference calls at the same time. So one of us has to go to the office, right? So I told her, you know, hey, I was counting on both of us meeting in the evening, maybe spending 4 or 5 hours, but you know, not like this. And and that is real, right? And because I will tell you, like in Charlotte, in my house, I had fiber coming into the house. So we had no problem. Like we could be streaming 2 or 3 things, being on a call, watching, you know, having the TV run with the CNBC news in the background, and we had no problem. In our apartment, now we have like Time Warner and AT&T bringing like 50 Mbps, I think, and both of us get on a call, and it's actually not practical. And the reason I'm saying this has become an important factor in how you are perceived in the workplace. So I'll give you a simple example, right? So at the beginning of the pandemic, I hope you guys can see this. So I got all my family, friends, and nieces and nephews to go and buy one of these. And I said, we got to learn how to look good on camera when we are in the workplace. So if you see, when I turn it on, you know, particularly in business meetings, if I position this correctly with a lot of light on me, people actually get a real good image of where I'm sitting, what I'm doing, and are able to actually, you know, look at me and interact with me much better than when I don't have this on. And this is like $20 on Amazon. And for those of you, and I've noticed like, a lot of executives have actually invested in equipment like this. So they put their phone on top of this. There is a little mount on top. You can put your phone on it. And this is what all these Instagram influencers are using. And I believe this has a role in the workplace. So particularly where we are remote and you know we want to be effective in remote meetings, little tools like this does make a difference. I just want you to know that even now, the reason I'm not positioning this is because, you know, I don't, the other one is somewhere else. So if I put 2 of it, there is no shadow in the background. So think about things like this, right? So we don't want people to, one of the biggest things that the pandemic has proved out is that remote work can be efficient and effective. And here is another piece of feedback, right? A lot of people who, when you're in a physical workplace, right? So I've been in this country now, 28 years. I've lived outside India longer than I've lived in India. And I've seen kind of the evolution of business in this country and how management thinks and works and where the internet has arrived, right? So without broadband, all of this is not possible. Without the internet, it's not possible. Without the tools that we have at our disposal for communication, it's not possible. So where is this going now? I feel like every student needs to know and manage their online presence, whether it is their LinkedIn profile, whether it is their Twitter account, whether it is their, you know, any other, you know, communication thing. And now it is getting to where video is becoming important. I have managers basically insisting that people get on video. I'm not asking you guys to do that right now. If you're comfortable, you should always be on video. So have a place that you can go to. People don't mind distractions. That is another thing that has evolved. Whether I am, you know, I watch business things like Bloomberg and CNBC, and I have people who come in on guests, their kids just come in and it's become part of it and it's become acceptable. That used to be a big no-no. So now you have a senior executive who is talking and their cat comes or their dog comes, and then it's all part of the meeting because you're trying to be as productive as possible and nobody is dinging you for that. The same thing in the past, even if you were logged in from home working and you got on a phone call and somebody heard your dog, it was a big no-no. Those things have changed. So I just want to point out that this is a new norm or a new phase that we have entered where these things are okay. So it doesn't have to be perfect, but your physical presence and you can be more effective. It's also part of, think of it as a personal branding, right? So there is this professor, Neeli Bendapudi, who used to teach at Ohio State University. I believe she's like now president of a big college. You can look her up on, you can just Google her name. Neeli Bendapudi is one of the accomplished, she's a president of a university, right? She actually came and did a lunchtime talk for us when I was working for a company in Columbus. And this is what she talked about. And this is like 15 years ago. And those same things are applicable today. And what she talked about is you as a personal brand and how you manage yourself as a brand. And the reason I'm saying this is your LinkedIn profile is going to be the first step in your branding process. So it doesn't matter what you put there. Don't be shy about a gap, right? I know many of you are kind of have taken a break because of family, because of visa situations or whatever. Don't be shy about talking about that. I'll tell you my own personal story, right? I quit Oracle to start my own company. We ran it for 3 years. After 3 years, COVID hit, and we actually let the team go because we couldn't manage people going off to remote places. There was no connectivity. So I myself, I'm on a gap. And I see that when people interview me, they are like, oh, Clarence, you actually went and took a risk and started a company. That's great. Tell us what you did. And recently I got a ping from an Oracle recruiter saying, would you like to come and do for the mothership what you were doing in your startup? So don't undervalue anything. Put everything that you are authentically in your LinkedIn profile, whether it's your hobby or whatever. The more people know about you, the more personable they become with you. And that all translates into how they work with you at the workplace. So that relationship building is the most important thing in this transition. Anybody can do the work. And I'm telling you that at least in America right now, anybody who wants to work and do anything is in demand. It doesn't matter. There are so many roles open. You can come in and you can transition into whatever you want to become ultimately, but the door is open. You don't even have to knock. And that is the kind of demand that has appeared in this economy, particularly the post-COVID economy. So who wants to go next? So for those of you who joined later, we're just doing introductions. So Sudha, I see your name. More than welcome to go. Ravi, if you want to call on some names that I don't recognize, please do that.
Yeah, Sudha, you can go ahead. Just share it whatever you're comfortable. Share about yourself and your hobbies.
Hi, I'm Sudha Dasari. I did masters in hospitality industry, like that's before my marriage. And after that, we moved to America for my husband's education. And due to visa issues, I didn't work. I was staying at home mom and taking care of my son. And later we moved to Atlanta and we were doing ministry here. And now I'm studying and doing certifications, I mean, I did some and doing, right now I'm learning Salesforce.
Awesome.
That's it. Yeah.
So what hobbies?
My hobbies, I do gardening. I study some books and literature, and I help other moms.
Singing.
I sing and I do. I attend leadership seminars, and that's
awesome.
it.
Awesome.
They're in ministry. They're in ministry, and I have been to their church several times. I know them personally, both
Okay.
wife and husband. Awesome people. Yeah. Yeah.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Who's next, Ravi?
Aishwarya. So would you like to talk, sister?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Hi,
Please
my
go
name
ahead.
is
Yeah.
Aishwarya. Am I audible?
Yeah. Go ahead, please.
Oh, hi, everyone. I'm Aishwarya. Um, I was working in TCS for a couple of years. I have my master's degree in computer science, which all I did back home in India. And I was working in TCS for a couple of years. Then with kids, my husband he have to move to US, and we just came here by 2015. And with kids, I haven't resumed my job yet. Just 3-4 months back, I got my EAD approved, and I've started looking for opportunities to work with my experience. Meanwhile, I got to know about Ravi Anna, and I started doing Salesforce self-taught. The progress, I'm still in progress. So I have a question to experts here. So I'm in a progress of completing my Salesforce, and I'm looking forward to land myself in Salesforce in future. Meanwhile, I see like few people around in our community, and I'm from Alabama. So meanwhile, friends whom we knew, they say that there are few opportunities in Alabama University with some technical skills, with just few technical skills, where you will be having a decent pay. Would you like to apply, or would you like to give it a chance? So I have just prepared my CV. I have just applied to them. But my doubt is whether should I completely study and learn myself in Salesforce maybe in a couple of months or so, or should I take the opportunity, go with whatever it is, and from there maybe in a couple of years, or how feasible it is, I can switch my profile to Salesforce. So I'm in a confusion whether to go. I don't know I don't know whether I will clear or not, but still, uh, shall I proceed with the companies or with opportunities right now with any clerical administrative post or anything like that, or should I go ahead with studying and completing my certification in Salesforce?
So, Aishwarya, what? So this is an open question, right? So, anybody else wants to jump in? What do you think Aishwarya should do?
I really feel that she should take the whatever opportunity comes in, along with she should continue whatever she is learning, because I feel if you have job in the hand, there will be people are more willingly or more likely to give you a chance. I have personally experienced this thing.
Oh, thank
Awesome.
you. So I'm hesitant about how far we will be, because when we land in a job, we will be definitely focusing more on it, learn more about the environment where we go, more learn about the technology where we will be right now working. So apart from that, we have to spend and we have to find our own time to do the courses which we wanted to do, right?
So I think, I want to say one thing, right? Like right now, is there how are you going to measure readiness, right? I understand that you feel ready or you have the confidence that you can go do an interview, but I think you're more hesitant that if you get into a job, then maybe you won't be able to finish what you started, right? So I think I agree with Soumya that and looks like from her personal experience also, start with what you have and where you are, right? So what is the worst that can happen, right? You'll get great interview experience, write down all the questions, then write down answers to all those questions. And I can tell you for a fact that interviewing is a skill that needs to be developed, and you have to come here. The best time to look for a job is when you have one, right? So the moment you get into it, you keep interviewing and you keep talking to other people, because this is the conundrum. The market, if you have money, every bank wants to loan you more money, because they are like, here is a person who has managed it well. And so we know they will be good stewards of our money. Same thing with the job. The moment one bank employs you, suppose Bank of America employs you, right? So I'm going to use the Charlotte example. Bank of America and Wells Fargo are the big employers in Charlotte. I bet that you go and you take any assignment of Bank of America, put 1 month on the job. You're curious about something at Wells Fargo, they will be like, oh, she's coming from Bank of America. And maybe by that time, you've only finished your mandatory training at Bank of America. But still, somebody evaluating you at Wells Fargo will say, if Bank of America felt she was ready to be employed by their bank, then maybe she can add value to our team. So this is the psychology of how companies think. And same thing, right? Like I was with Oracle. Oracle is coming back and recruiting me again. But when Amazon looks at me, they're like, well, all of that Oracle technology now sits in our cloud. Clarence, 90% of that. The rest is, you should know AWS. Well, they look at my startup and say, your product was built on AWS, so you know something about AWS, right? So that's how they extrapolate. And in your case, Aishwarya, since you actually worked for TCS, and I'm not sure what technologies you worked in or how far along you were at TCS, but people will look at you and say, she's had work experience in the past.
Okay.
So go ahead.
Sorry to interrupt. I completed, I have an experience as a Java developer for 1.5 years and 3.5 months of training. But for some reason, I didn't want to go to development again. Is it okay to put my experience, not faking, write whatever I have in my resume and go ahead with whatever interviews I attend? Or should I fake, or according to the opening, like for example, if they need any data analyst, should I fake my content, or should I fake my experience and I have to apply for jobs? Because I'm really not a person who is okay to fake. I really can't handle that. So I'm just stuck whether I should go along with only my current or whichever experience I have, or should I go along what the industry recommends or industry needs from us. Because so many consultancies and so many trainers, they say that this is not enough. In US, you cannot survive just with 2 years of experience that too you had in India. So you have to fake and go around with 6 and 8 and 10, because that is a trend which I am not comfortable with. So that really breaks down my confidence. Okay, how am I going to clear this, or how am I going to present myself with just 2 years of experience?
So
could you please?
Yeah, absolutely. So let's address it one by one, right? So first of all, I would not recommend that you actually fake a resume that you cannot defend, right? Because imagine who is interviewing you on the other side. Like it will be somebody like me or somebody like Ravi. And I can assure you, no matter how smart somebody is and how much they have practiced, speaking to their resume, a couple of questions into the interview and we know exactly where you are. I can guarantee you that. At least experienced people, experienced managers know exactly where a technical resource is. You open your mouth, speak 3 or 4 sentences, and I'll tell you, and what you know, what you don't know, what you're confident about and what you're not confident about, right? But here is how I make decisions. So in your case, Aishwarya, if I can actually use you as an example, right? And we can work through other scenarios like this with, if people are willing to share their resumes, I will share what I'm talking about. We can have a workshop on just resumes. In your case, speak to those things that are relevant to that role that you have experienced in the past, right? If you were a Java developer, trust me, you are in the top 10% of the workforce. Think about it for a second, right? So many of you who have master's degrees, the person who earlier said that they have a master's in engineering management, I have done a statistical study of people in America. Actually, this is globally valid as well. How many people in America do you think have a bachelor's degree? I want you to go look it up. It's like, you'll be stunned at the percentage. Then look at the percentage of people who have a master's degree in America, okay? They're probably like less than 10%, I can guarantee you that. The number of people with 2 master's degrees is probably less than 1%. People with PhDs are probably less than 1%, so 0.9% is the population that has a PhD. I have had immigrants on my team that after I hired them said, oh, by the way, Clarence, I didn't want to appear overqualified for this job, so I neglected to put my PhD there. And I said, I realized that as you know, whoever advised you, ill-advised you. So there are some people who would have done that. I'm not one of those people. I value your life experience, expertise, and if you did PhD in, I don't know, weather sciences, the amount, your ability to actually process data, articulate an idea and put it down on paper because you submitted a thesis and were able to defend it successfully tells me about what your experience was. Now, I agree that a manager who is hiring you to do X job would be like, oh, shoot, this guy might come and I can't keep him busy, so maybe I shouldn't hire him. And there are managers like that. I'm not saying that everybody is going to have this outlook, but it depends on your company, it depends on that team, and it depends who's on the other side. I am of the most sincere belief that if you don't put all your experience, that is also a form of cheating. We only talk about inflation. Why don't we talk about the other side where people are like not authentically presenting themselves? And if you have a master's, you're hesitating to write whether you have a master's. Even if you've done hotel management, if that is a master's in hotel management, put that in. Which degree program teaches you people skills better than a hospitality degree? An engineering degree is actually on the scale of 0. Hospitality degree is at like 90. True. Only other degree is a master's in public relations and communications. Probably they have better, skills, particularly interpersonal skills. So look at it both ways. When it comes to inflating your resume, you're like, I don't want to cheat. I don't want to put, 6 years, 8 years experience just to get an interview. But then there are people who are also in this group itself hesitating. Should I talk about my bachelor's degree in accounting or not? How will it be perceived? Why do you care how other person perceives you? I'm telling you, if they don't value your expertise and your experience and your degrees, most likely the same manager and that same executive will not value your work either at the workplace. I can guarantee you that. And you will be very unhappy working for somebody like that who on a day-to-day basis doesn't value you as a person or what you're delivering on a day-to-day basis. Oh, itna hi kiya, bas itna, kal ka tha, aaj ka kya hai, right? So you want to work for somebody like that, you will quit in 3 months, even if they pay you $100 an hour. So to answer Aishwarya's questions, right? I'm not saying you need to lie on your resume. If you're not comfortable, please don't do that because people on the other end know. What is going to happen? These consulting companies are also, I understand how the system works. Many of these providers, whether it's TCS, HCL, Wipro, all of these people have been my clients, right? They've been, I was a customer of theirs. And they would be like, Clarence, there is nobody available. What do you want me to do? And I'm like, get me your best people, right? As a consumer, as a customer, when I'm hiring for Oracle, I'm like going there and saying, TCS, show me your IIT guys, because I want 1 or 2 of those guys in my team, because I know they're the heavy lifters. Then show me your tier 1 universities, right? So you won't believe it. American companies would actually pay me for interviewing people, like per hour or 2 hours if I was sitting on a panel and interviewing somebody, because they're like, Clarence, you know all these universities. We don't know exactly what working for JNTU is or graduating from JNTU means. Or in Ravi's case, the fact that he went to Sweden to do his master's, like who in America actually knows what that means? Right? I had to go look up his university. And I'm like, if this guy took himself out of the comfort zone of India, put himself in Sweden, successfully did a 2-year course, then came to the America, the person is very adaptable culturally. And that is important in the workplace, right? So don't get into the pressure. If you're not ready to defend a resume, if somebody wants to add things that you don't know anything about, please don't. But here is something I will tell you. Take a resume or take a job description and go through each of those terms and you go and look them up, right? Google. And you learn something about the definition and you're like, I don't know exactly what this is, but I'm beginning to understand what the definition is. And I can tell you, as an executive, as a manager, as what, and I'm going to share my Oracle experience with you here. When we write a job description, right, the rec itself is bad. Think about it. When I'm giving a job rec, I'm trying to encompass so many things that are happening in the organization that I want to cover all my bases as a manager. So I'll tell my team, guys, if you think Agile is really important, well, put that in. And if Agile certification is important to you guys, put that in. And my team is like, I don't care if they're Agile certified or not, but I'm like, hedge your bet, because don't come back to me after I hire this person and say they don't know anything about Agile, because I'm here trying to defend this to senior management, right? So I'm forming a team of 10 people. What am I going to do? I'm going to throw everything in the kitchen sink into that job requisition, hoping that if I have a 50% match, that person will perform for my team. So that hedging is happening everywhere, right? You guys understand, for those of you who have a finance background, hedging is what? You actually buy an instrument, financial instrument, that in the case the market goes down, you actually are, you're covering your losses, and that is hedging. And we hedge all the time. So there is no perfect job rec out there, right? So don't worry about it. But here is something that you can do. Go and look up that company, because, have questions formulated around the team, have questions formulated around that role. So I'm going to come back and talk about this. I know we are at 8:30 my time, which is 9:30 your time. So Ravi, what's the guidance here? Are we good on time? What do we keep going?
Yeah, we are good on time. Yeah, we can go up to 9 CST.
Okay, sounds good. So I'm going to quickly share what happened with me, right? So my background is in mechanical engineering. My bachelor's is in mechanical engineering. My master's is in mechanical and aerospace. And I have an MBA from a small university called Franklin University in Columbus, Ohio. When I joined Oracle, this manager that I was working with, like somebody recommended me and they said, Clarence, can you apply to this? If you're interested in Oracle, apply to this job rec. So I posted my resume against that position, okay? I did not understand 90% of the requirement. I'll be honest with you. I'm like confessing here, right? I didn't understand. When the interview came, I told the manager, I said, I don't know what my friends who know me told you about me, but that job rec, I'm not qualified to apply for that. He goes, Clarence, please hang with me. Okay, this guy is like, for Oracle, he came through Sun Acquisition, one of the most intelligent engineers that I've ever worked with. Great guy, works out of the Reston office, is responsible for global advanced customer service support for Oracle. So then we go through the interview process. It was put on hold because, Oracle was giving out its quarterly numbers. And he said, please, I want you to know that we are still interested in you, but I can't hire you for the next 2 months. I said, I'm on a job. I'm in no rush. Take your time. So anyway, one fine morning, this guy texts me and he says, there is a rec that I just opened. Can you apply towards that? And I'm telling you, I did not even read the rec. I took that job ID, I took my resume and I uploaded it against it. As soon as I uploaded, I noticed that the guy closed the rec, right? So this is how, where he's already decided he wants to bring me on board. So now he's playing the internal game of where he doesn't want to show HR that he interviewed 10 people and how many of them were qualified, not qualified. He has to give a reason for rejecting that person. Full-time interviews require of all of this, that you're not discriminating against people. Anyway, the guy closes and I'm telling you, I didn't even understand 5% of that rec. I interviewed with all the engineers. Many of them were hardware engineers, and I was nervous going into that role. I was like, these are engineered systems. So those of you who are interested or know Oracle technology, Oracle right now has something called InfiniBand. InfiniBand is that broadband network, which is on the back of every one of these big machines that actually allows gigabit scale communication inside the server, okay? And these servers are Exadata machines, Exalogic, superclusters. These machines are the size of like 2 or 3 refrigerators, okay? I'm not a hardware engineer. I'm not an electronics engineer. I go in and they all like me. They said, we'll hire Clarence. I said, okay, done. So I'm in. And here is what was my assignment. Oracle had sold something to a customer called KPN, which is Europe's largest cell phone operator. And their challenge was when a customer who has paid for the service, prepaid services, postpaid services, right? So somebody has a calling card. When that calling card is used, the provider needs to authenticate online that it is a prepaid card and actually charge correctly, put the call through. And this guy is the biggest provider in Europe. So they need like analytics on the wires, if you will. And what that means is before the call is actually put through, you need to know everything about that customer, whether that customer is paid, how much is their balance, does that balance allow them to talk for 10 minutes, 5 minutes, 2 minutes? Is there enough on that card to even connect that call? Things of that sort need to happen on the wires before the call is connected. So the guy puts me on this project and he says, the customer is very angry with Oracle, please manage the customer. These were my instructions. This is all I knew. So I look at the account, I talked to the salespeople who had sold the account and I said, what is currently active at the customer? And it turns out 50% of what the customer had paid for was not even installed and running at the customer. That is why the customer was mad. So that now the salespeople tell me, Clarence, we need to implement a few things. We are having difficulty implementing, but the customer is looking to upgrade. And now we are kind of embarrassed to go and talk to the customer because we have not installed half the stuff that they bought. So my first assignment was this. And I told the sales guy, I am not going to lie to the customer. Similar to your thing about your resume, right? I said, I'm not going to go tell the customer nice things about Oracle so you can go and sell something else and make your numbers. So the senior executives of this Netherlands-based company, my first call with them was, I said, guys, we have not implemented half the stuff that you paid for. And that was the first time somebody at Oracle had told them the truth like this. And it was very refreshing for these guys. First of all, they knew the truth, right? I'm not telling anything new. Hearing an Oracle person say that brought everybody's tension down. And I said, there are some things that we can implement immediately. For others, we need your server people, your hardware people to bring in like the right kind of power, the right kind of networking. I need access to these kind of devices in a secure fashion so I can actually bring these systems online in a secure fashion. So we created a plan And then I turned around and I told the Oracle guys that if you want to make the customer happy, give them a refund for what they have not used, particularly on the services side that they paid. Let us make sure that that credit rolls forward. So if the customer paid for something they didn't use, I'm ready to implement it. You reset the clock on that. And I'm telling you, after like 6 months of all of this, I implemented a few things. The account came up for renewal. The sales guys flew to Netherlands, sat down with the customer, and made sure that the customer got credit for stuff that they didn't use, right? This is like real life. And I'm not qualified to do any of these guys. There was nothing technical that I was doing up until that point. It was just bringing the customer's tension down, managing the account. And then my boss who hired me at Oracle comes and tells me, Clarence, this is what your friends who know you told me about you, that you can actually manage difficult situations like this well. You can speak to the technical aspects of the project. You can speak to the human aspect of the project. And you can actually coach the sales guys on how to talk to that customer, because you actually understand what is the most effective way to serve this customer, relieve some of their pain points, and still make money. So I'm telling you, I did this for 2 years. And at the end of 2 years, I realized that it was getting into hardware engineering a lot. Like I was reading 4 or 5 hours a day. And for Japanese customers like SoftBank, in Japan, if you're doing a project, you cannot run a command on their system that you have not submitted in advance to them, which they have approved. So I couldn't do debugging on SoftBank. And I'm telling you this, right? Insider information, right? So there is a guy out of India, Bangalore for Oracle, who's working on the account. I am the executive who is handling the account. And I'm telling the SoftBank Japanese customer that, hey, I ran this command. I told you, this is the output that I got. I wasn't expecting this output. So I need to debug more. So I need to run other commands. Do I have your permission to do it? He just outright said no. And then I learned something about why the Japanese, for a small island nation, are so good. In Japan, you can ask time to design and think through the solution they will give you. So I said, sorry, but this didn't work as planned. I'm going to go back to the drawing board and I'll come back with a solution. Because that was it, guys. So imagine this. We are awake. I'm awake here, Japan time. The guy in India is awake and alert. We have run through 50% of this. One command did not produce the result that I was looking for. And I'm like, can I run a new command to debug this? And they said, no, you need to submit that. Go back to the drawing board, design the solution, come back. That is how secure things are in Japan. It's not like in the US where, oh, you're in the live system, you're typing something away. They will not allow that. In production, you cannot run anything that you have not run in test, and you don't know what to expect. Because the guy had a valid question. He said, if all of this has been tested on one of our parallel systems, how can the output be different, Clarence? Then our parallel system is not matching our production system. What are you going to do about that? And here is another thing, guys. In Japan, you cannot open a ticket in English. You open the ticket and then I have to tell my translation services, convert it to Japanese. Because a guy in Japan will not read a ticket in English, even if he knows English. It has to be translated to Japanese. So all these other aspects were taking up so much of my time that I told my boss, this was a wonderful experience, but I can't be sitting here and learning hardware engineering right now. That's not my thing. This is, but he was like, no, stay. So I'm telling you guys, I gave my job notice in like November, hoping to spend some time with my family, enjoy time at home. He wouldn't let me go until Super Bowl finished. And that year it was being held in New Jersey because New Jersey Transit was being upgraded for the Super Bowl that year. So I worked that project. And then he goes, Clarence, I can't let you go until you hire your replacement. So here is what I did. I've hired a guy out of Sao Paulo, Brazil, that my boss flew to go and interview and pick up. I said, this kid, I have worked with him in the past. He's a great Java developer. He knows Java in and out, but he doesn't know these other parallel technologies. But you know what he knows? He knows Portuguese, he knows Spanish, and he knows English. And he's willing to learn and work for Oracle. So I told that kid, bro, you never heard it from me, but here is a job rec, go put your resume against it. Because I can't poach my customers' resources. That's a big no-no. So this is the story, guys. This is how things actually work in real life. So I want to give you guys a sense of that. Hopefully it builds your confidence, but don't be afraid to put yourself out there and see how far you can take it, because people will exactly know how, what you know and what you don't know. If they're willing to hire you, it is evidence that they're willing to give you a chance, number one. Number two, something in your resume or about you and your personality makes them feel like you will add value to their team. Nobody is going to hire you in America because they want to help you out. That stuff doesn't work here. There is very little nepotism in this country, and that is why the country is where it is. And we are not recommending that they change that about their country, because we know from where things don't happen this way in an objective way. After 20, 30, 40, 50, 70 years of doing that sort of thing, you can't get ahead. That you need real talented people solving real problems properly for us to actually use that to go to the next level. So I think we are still pending some introductions, and we are open for questions. So Jerusha, yes, Jerusha asked a question. She goes, recently I deleted all my experiments in LinkedIn. Maybe I need to go back and add my experience. Thanks again. Absolutely. Absolutely. Right. Go back, put all your certifications, put your bachelor's degree. I don't care what it is in, but if you have a bachelor's degree, let me tell you something, guys. As a woman, if you have a bachelor's degree on this planet, there are 8 billion people right now. You are in the top 20% of this planet. If you're a woman and you have a bachelor's degree, you're probably in that top 10%. If you're a woman with a master's degree, you are less than 1% of the population on the whole planet. I'm a data guy, okay? I don't get emotional about stuff. If I know that for a fact, I challenge you, go into any UN website and say what percentage of women right now have a bachelor's degree and a master's degree across each country. I challenge you to go find that data. Come back if you're going to refute me and bring that data with you. You come and say, Clarence, you said, women with master's degrees or bachelor's degrees are, less than 10%. It looks like globally, 20% of this planet's women have a master's degree. I owe you a treat. I will take you wherever you want to go, and I will come take you to your favorite restaurant, and it's on me. Bring the data to me. And this goes for everybody. Don't be ashamed or afraid to reflect what you are or who you are. That is also cheating, not just inflating your resume. That's an easy one, right? Oh, we are all feeling so pious. So I'm telling you the other side, right? Even that job rec is inflated. I know that for a fact. In fact, job requirement is the worst piece of written literature on this planet. People used to ask for HTML5 and that came out. People were asking for 5 years of experience. HTML5 was out for a year. So look at how ignorant people are. So if you look at it objectively and you actually analyze, right? So right now, if somebody says, I need somebody who can program in blockchain and have 5 years of blockchain experience, 0.00001% of the population actually has good 2 years of experience programming anything on the blockchain. I can guarantee you this number. I know crypto. I have looked at systems. I have worked with startups that deal with blockchain. If you can find somebody who claims 5 years of experience. So imagine the ridiculousness of that requirement where you're saying, give me somebody with 5 years of experience. What is somebody going to do if you ask a stupid thing like that? They will feed your stupidity by saying, here, I have a resume for you. Here, you want to change that 5 to 10, we can do that also. That's what consulting companies are doing now. But who is asking? Somebody who is supposed to be the industry experience in the technology is asking for 5 years of experience. The disconnect is just mind-boggling. So if you, agar aapko sach tak pahunchna hai, sorry to switch languages, but you know, there is this Jagjit Singh song, right? Agar baat nikli thi to dur tak chalegi. It's one of my favorite songs. Yes, if the truth comes out, then we have to get truthful about everything. So I'm not saying that go lie on your resume and put something that you don't know. If you're putting something, as long as you're able to defend it, I'm cool with that. Read something about it. If you're saying, I know, Clarence, how to do Salesforce administration, at least be able to talk about Salesforce administration, what it entails, right? How would you set up a customer in Salesforce? At least know the steps, even if you've never had a chance to work on a live system. Just say, at least in a simulated environment, I have done this. If you can defend that much, I'm good with it. Because imagine this, guys. In Charlotte, I have worked in workforce development. This is a true story because there's some people from Charlotte here. You'll relate to this. Bank of America gave a large amount of money, okay, to Goodwill Industries. Goodwill Industries runs these workforce development programs. Goodwill Industries had zero idea how to spend the money and on what to spend the money. So there is this company that actually does these boot camps, right? They came, they started charging like $5,000 to $10,000 for an 8-week program, charging Goodwill. They were not able to place anybody in anywhere. And these people are all American citizens. I'm not talking people coming from outside. These are people who came, enrolled in that program and said, I'm ready to learn, teach me and place me. Well, guess what? I am a graduate of Leadership Charlotte, okay? Somebody from Leadership Charlotte said, told one of the leaders in Goodwill Industries, talk to Clarence once, he'll guide you. So they came to me, invited me for lunch and said, Clarence, this is what is our conundrum, right? We are taking all these people, we are not able to reskill them, we are not able to upskill them, we are not able to relate them to what is happening in these companies. So they don't have confidence to go and interview at these places. We revamped the whole program, guys, and we got somebody from the Indian community in Charlotte connected with that program. And just before I left Charlotte, they actually hosted me for a lunch because the program is running so well. Because we put the onus on these companies who gave the money to hire these people back. And these are not easy because the lack of confidence of the people coming into the workforce, the lack of knowledge of the people running this program, and the disinterest of Bank of America to actually leverage a donation that they made to actually benefit their company. It was too much work for them, right? But oh, Bank of America ka naam aa gaya, chalo humne paise diye, it was all over the news. You can go and look it up. Goodwill Industries has an opportunity center on Wilkinson Road, which is very close to the airport. You can go and look up Goodwill Opportunity Center, and there is an IT program in there. Nobody knew what to do with that money. This is the state of affairs. And right now, with the kind of demand that we are seeing, employers are hungry for talent. Salesforce is a great place to be. Agile is a great place to be. Project management is a great place to be. If you have the ability to work with technical resources, even if you don't want to do the development work yourself, it is a great place to be. Because you already know the language, right? And if you have taught in the past, or you're a teacher anywhere, trust me, you've actually done more difficult things than what happens in a workplace. There is an artificial barrier to entry, people. I'm just telling you this, right? There's an artificial barrier to entry. But once you get in, they'll treat you well. Because then you are now the insider, right? You also know the other fellow doesn't know much. Think about it this way. America's economy, I don't know, look at GDP or look at what the size of the economy. It's probably $14 trillion or $15 trillion. Go Google that. What is the size of the economy? If you take the population in America, 400 million, take out 200 million people, right? retirees, young people, students, all of that. Take half. People who don't want to work, who are not actually in the workforce, not because they don't have talent, but they have other things to do. Take sick people out, take all of this out. So who is left? 50% of the population is left. With 200 million people, never on the face of the planet has any country ran a $14 trillion economy. It's just not possible. So what does America do? It leverages resources anywhere in the world. It does these green card lotteries. People like you and me who are from India, they give you a visa only after you get a bachelor's degree. Think about it, guys. And sorry for being, this, I don't know, these pronouns are in use these days. So I should say ladies or gals or I don't know, but you know what I'm talking about, right? So this has become another thing these days in the workplace that you need to be aware of. People write their preferred pronouns in their LinkedIn profile. So if you want to be addressed as her, she, you need to write that against your name because those are your preferred pronouns. So there is that whole political, this whole, what do you say, gender spectrum thing going, society is going through that transformation. So that's another thing, if you put that against your name, it signals to people that you understand that gender diversity and you know how to address people properly, and you're more attuned with wanting to address people in using a pronoun that they would like, preferred pronoun as it is called. So look that up. See all of these little things, right? Communication, engagement. I'm telling you, if America didn't have the demand for labor, this sort of conversation in corporate America wouldn't even have been encouraged. I'm telling you, they're doing it out of necessity because LGBTQ community constitutes 1% of the population. If they don't engage in the workforce, it is not a big loss to corporate America. But if they're willing to engage with them, think about it. Why would a Nike or an Express or Amazon put up with it? Because they know we'll treat you well, we'll get you engaged in our workplace, and we will actually acknowledge your gender diversity in our workplace so that you can bring your talent to us. Because if you're a good developer, we don't want to use you. Imagine how much the demand should be that a country that is inherently very conservative, and I have actually looked at this country for the last 28 years very carefully, analyzed it very carefully, observed it very carefully. I'm telling you, if the demand was not there, outsourcing wouldn't happen. Jeff Bezos won't go and stand on a bus in India. TCS wouldn't be doing what it is doing today. Good people are in demand right now because that is where the economy is. And what is happening in America? The baby boomers are retiring. A whole bunch of people retired in the last 2 years. The market did well. They said, this is my time. I'm going to lock in the benefits from the market, get out of the workforce. Well, who is there to fill? Because I'm sitting here talking to you guys. You guys are here sitting and listening to what I'm saying. Who is working right now? Somebody in Vietnam is. And I'm not even kidding. I'm saying Vietnam because right now Vietnam is emerging as the biggest competitor in the outsourcing marketplace to guess who? India. I am seeing so much hardware work, software work going to Vietnam. It is not even funny. Malaysia has been tapped out. India has been tapped out. The next emerging market for outsourcing is Vietnam. And those guys are good at hardware and software. Last 25 years has been about software, right? Now what is happening? Internet of Things, look this up. IoT is going to take over, where hardware has become commoditized. So you can actually design and get a chip printed in China and shipped to your house and then work with that chip. That is never possible before. And to design the chip, everybody is using open source technologies. IoT is going to be the next big driver, which is everything that automation is based on, right? You have a garage, you should be able to operate it from anywhere. You have a stove which is linked to the internet, you don't have to be in the house to check whether your stove is switched off or not. And if you have little children, and if the kids go play in your kitchen and by mistake they turn on your stove, you will get a text message. So that is what IoT is enabling. Now imagine, that is why new cars are so expensive, because every car used to have 1 or 2 chips in the past. Now there is like whole 2-3 computers are fitted into the car. And so now you know where your car is. You have connectivity in your car. You have all this Bluetooth stuff. If your car door is open, there is a chip that is managing that. So if even one of the chip is missing, car cannot roll off the factory floor. So I'm sitting here, I'm 10 miles away from Tesla's new plant. And next week, Tesla is hosting an inauguration of its plant. They are sucking up all of the hardware that is in the marketplace. And go look up what NVIDIA released last week. NVIDIA has come up with the most powerful chip ever. So all these analytics are moving into those hardware. So more analysis, more analytics is possible. So I want to give you the framework where you're operating. Hardware, the best hardware ever is available today, and it's being built. Those plants are actually coming. So look at Ohio, right? Ohio just said, Columbus, Ohio is going to have a new plant. Where we are in Austin is going to have a new plant. Tempe, Arizona, Phoenix, Arizona is getting a plant. All of these plants are currently where? In Taiwan. Guess what is happening after Ukraine? China and Taiwan. They are already thinking about it and moving hardware into this country. Where are you going to find the workforce when only 2% of the workforce is available to work on anything in this country? You can't produce an electrical engineer overnight. So this is where the market is, right? Cryptocurrency, all of that is catching fire. Analytics on the wire is catching fire. Security, if any of you is interested in security, I'm telling you, think about getting certifications on the security side. So many jobs in that area. I can't even begin to tell you. Security is probably the hottest right now. Salesforce is good. Cloud-based technologies are all good. Data, analytics, things like that are good, but don't neglect security. There is a lot of jobs and roles in security. You're encouraged to go get those certifications, but don't wait till you get that certification. If that is something that you think you're interested in, look at what it entails. Go take one class, right? Never on the face of the planet has education been so cheap. Whoever wants to learn can learn today. Watch 10 YouTube videos. You will get the hang of it. If it is something that you develop a passion for, pursue it a little bit. Talk to somebody, go to an open house, go talk to somebody who works in that field and say, what is a good starting point? Security is here to stay. Excuse me, one of the biggest fears America has right now is that the Russians are going to hack. And guess what? Power companies want security people. Every financial institution is looking to hire security people, because when you get into a warlike situation, everything is fair game. If you kick Russia out of the global economy where they're getting kicked out of the SWIFT system, India is getting ready to pay in Russian rubles to Russia. Guess what the Russians hate about America now? They're like, oh, you mess with us financially. Guess what? We will hack into your systems. So Meena asked a very good question. We don't have security-based degree, but will certification still work? Absolutely. I'm telling you, this master's in engineering management wasn't there 5 years ago. And if you have a master's in engineering management, there are a bunch of startups that will take you because they have a product that they're trying to sell. If you know a little bit of technical knowledge and you have a degree in engineering management, any startup will take you with very good pay and they'll treat you well. You might even get stock options, people. Think about it. That is the kind of demand. Meena, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I'm saying thank you, brother.
Absolutely. So yeah, you don't need a base degree. See, right now, degrees, while they are important as a foundational aspect, the market is always ahead of the universities. And this is global, only few universities, like take the Ivy Leagues, right? There are 10 good universities in America, right? Ivy Leagues. Then there is top 50. They are probably really tracking where the industry is going and are setting the standard. The other 3,000 to 5,000 universities around the world follow their lead. That is what is happening. My daughter is getting ready to go to college this fall, so I'm paying attention. What are these people going to teach her, right? I was just curious. ठीक है यार, इतना पैसा दे रहे हैं तो बच्ची जाके करेगी क्या वहां पे? And I'm like, even they don't know, because somebody outside the industry is actually going and saying, I'm going to go build an exchange where cryptocurrency can be traded. That has never happened. So I'll give you an example, right? What are the two things that government thrives on? Money. Government wants exclusive right to print money. Second, government wants military to be a government institution. So government is bad at managing both. Actually, if politicians do their job correctly, there should be no fighting. So that's why we are electing people using the ballot. Otherwise, everybody pick up a gun and go shoot, right? That is how change happened in the past. So now that currency is also getting out of the government realm. So people like Elon Musk are saying, why should the government? So currency is based on trust. You're not printing against gold. So it's purely based on trust, which means if I as an individual wants to put out a currency and people trust me, then I'm willing to accept it. That is what Dogecoin is. Dogecoin is nothing but electronic money that Tesla is saying we will accept as payment towards our vehicles. So think about it carefully, where that is happening and where payments could go from here. Today, if Ukraine is being supported, 90% of what is going there is happening through crypto. So already the case study for crypto has been proven. And this is real, it is here to stay. Your kids most likely, when they go to college, 10, 15 years from now, crypto will be their foundational class, like how Linux was when we were going to college. So think about it. There is another thing I want to share. You know, there's a lot of mothers here. I recently read some research that I wanted to share with you, right? There is a lady out of one of these Ivy League schools, you know, and again, you know, I follow researchers who come from objective backgrounds. I don't care where they went to school, but they do good research. Research has proven that children of working mothers and stay-at-home mothers, there is no difference in their outcome. So if any of you are hesitating to say, oh, if I go work, maybe the kids will feel neglected. No, your children will actually learn something very important. They will respect you as a mother for being able to handle outside and inside, number one. Number two, when your kids, whether they are boys or girls, when they get married and when they have spouses, think about it. This whole idea of nuclear family is changed with our generation. It's going to be even more different. Women are actually going to be the primary breadwinners in 50% of the households in Western societies. 20 years from now, if I'm alive and you are alive, call me and say, Clarence, that day on March 31st, you said this, it's come true. It is going to come true. That is the big transformation that's happening. And that is the big aspiration that's happening. And for that, even men are adjusting. Think about it, right? Even men in the workplace, even managers are saying, if a woman comes, we used to pay less and it was okay. Go to India, guys. In construction, we used to pay 300 for a woman or 250 for a woman and 500 for a man. This used to happen in our own construction, right? In houses that we got built. You go today, everybody is getting the same amount. And that is very fair because I have observed women with little children do 8 hours of work on the construction site. And I'm like, they're handling so many more things. Why is this guy getting more? And that transformation has happened in low wage workforce already. And that parity is already developing. So think about what that means to your children, how they process, right? And I'm not saying this out of some emotional, I actually read this research and I can actually share who the researcher is with you, but this is true. There was somebody who actually went out and actually did a study globally and said, what are the outcomes if a mother is at home and is a homemaker classes, if the mother works outside the house and, spouses are actually collaborating to make the day-to-day happen or are getting help from somewhere, how have the kids done? There's really no difference. If you really have a child that needs special care and, you are like the primary nurturer and, not everybody's families are the same. I don't want to assume that they are the same. But if that is the case, then that's okay. You have a legitimate reason. But if your children are healthy, they're doing well, your spouses are supportive, your families are supportive, or you're having these conversations and are negotiating these things on the home front, then take advantage of it. Don't be afraid. You may be working on site for 2 or 3 months. Once you're good at it, you can go offline. Today, everybody is in a hybrid environment. So that has become an acceptable practice where it was not before. So never has there been so much flexibility. And I, as a manager, I have actually grown into this. I'm telling you, when I was on my first job and at like 25, 26, they made me a manager and I had all these 50-year-old white people reporting to me. Somebody called up and said, I can't come to work. I'm not feeling well, blah, blah, blah. I said, what are you going to go do at home? Sit and sulk. Come for lunch. We're going to go there for lunch. Then you can come back to the office with me. Turns out this guy had, he was on the verge of getting divorced, handling a lot of things. I had no idea. I said, what are you going to do? Come for lunch, right? So later this guy tells me, well, my wife and I are having these troubles and, then I was like, dude, you should have told me that, because I didn't know what that meant and what he needed, what kind of support he needed, whether he needed time, he needed to go figure out his child support in the HR system, or, he just needed some alone time. I didn't understand that. I was just like, I need work done. And if you're going to be gone for 4 hours, that impacts me, come back in. Today, even HR supports me. Like I can actually call up HR and say, hey, my employee needs support. And you actually are given free services where you can call a counselor. If your kids want, companies providing counselors for your kids. There was no such thing as grief counseling, people. And I know, there are people who lost their parents. These last 2 years, many people couldn't travel. Many people couldn't be primary caregivers. People knew what was happening, but couldn't help directly. That causes a lot of trauma. That's a lot of heartache, right? Particularly if you're, socially, if you're in a place in your life where, you're the only child, you're sitting here, your parents are in the hospital there and you're trying to negotiate something and you're trying to keep your job also. In the past, you couldn't talk about things like that in the workplace. Today, you can say, hey, I don't have to travel. I can't travel. There is no airlines taking me there. But I need to take a month off to deal with this scenario, and your company might actually listen to what you have to say and make accommodations. Trust me, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, it was like, if you want, you can quit, but we are not listening to all this. That culture has changed in the workplace. So at this point, I'm going to open it up to Q&A. And, I'm here in Central Time Zone, so it's 9:15 for me. I know it's much later for you guys who are in the East Coast, but anything you want to ask, here is your chance.
Anna, first of all, thank you so much. It's so encouraging.
You're very welcome. I didn't know what you wanted me to talk about, Ravi. So
no, these are all good. These are all good.
I don't know. I don't trust Ravi at all. You guys tell me. He's good at marketing, so you guys tell me.
Guys, speak it out, please. Save me. If you have any questions, please. Yeah.
Sudha, the floor is yours.
Yeah.
We haven't heard from you. It doesn't matter if there is stuff going on around you.
Right.
You don't have to be on video, but you can certainly get off mute and say something if you'd like. Anybody else? I don't know if this was useful for you guys at all. I don't trust Ravi, so I need to hear from the rest of you.
No, it's all good.
Thank you.
It's all good and encouraging, and appreciate your time, and thank you. Thank you for speaking.
Friends, I would like to tell one thing about Clarence Anna. I met him in a prayer meeting, and I noticed him. After the meeting, everybody have a food, and everybody leave the place or maybe chit chat, right? But he was the one actually helping cleaning that area. So he's such a successful person, and and that really caught my attention actually. So that's why I made myself at another event actually. I attended that event, but I spent almost all the time talking to him because such a blessing actually, such a blessing and encouragement. Yeah. So
Thank
feel
you,
free to ask him any questions. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this is all casual, and this is, there cannot be a more non-judgmental safe space to talk. And so Nancy asked me something, what is the secret of your success in the chat? And I said one thing, good friends. Alice Karuna, you're on.
Yes, brother. It is very encouraging. You have answered most of my questions, all my fears regarding the LinkedIn and resume. As I'm a newcomer and I have no experience, no technical experience actually. And I was thinking whether I have to add my past experience in LinkedIn, but you have clarified most of my questions. Thank you so much for your inputs, brother. And I was looking forward to listen more from you, to learn more from you.
You're welcome. So Meena, I'm going to answer your question. What is the secret of your success? I have great friends. If I need a job right now, I just have to call 2-3 people and say, hey, find me something, and they'll find it. Those relationships, I tell people, you can earn whatever is important to you, right? But what I have earned is this. I can go to anybody's house any time of the day, people that I know, knock on their door, and I know I'll get food, shelter, respect, and security in that place. And I have hundreds of people like that across the world. So I can go to Australia. If I show up in Sydney, Australia, I know somebody there that will be like, Clarence, welcome. Those are the kind of relationships that I have cultivated in my life, going back to my high school days, right? So, and that is a blessing too, and I hope that I never have to call on somebody like that. But if I have to, I know that exists. That gives me a lot of confidence. So so I'm going to introduce myself now to you guys, right? So I grew up in Hyderabad, went to engineering in mechanical engineering at CBIT, Chaitanya Bharati Institute of Technology, that's affiliated to Osmania University. I did mechanical engineering there, came to the US, did masters in mech and aerospace. I have no formal education in computer science or in any allied field of computer science. I have a degree, I have an MBA. Whatever I know in technology is self-taught, much like what you guys are going through. But in most cases, people were like, they would run out of questions to ask because, they would be like, let's test this guy, right? They knew what they were talking about. They would test me. They knew where I was. And I was very honest with what I knew and what I didn't know. But whenever I was given an opportunity to ask that critical question, right, in every interview, and this is not trivial, pay attention to this. Whenever I was given an opportunity to ask a question, I would directly look at the manager and say, what is it that you're trying to solve? Like this week, what did you work on? What did you solve? Or what are you trying to solve? Or what is a pain point that you wish you had somebody to solve for you? And what that would do is it would open the floodgates of what the heck was going on in the project, right? What the manager was frustrated about, what is working, where the team deficiencies are. And I'm telling you, many times I think I was made an offer because they felt I cared enough to come in and actually solve that problem for them, or at least give them ideas on how to solve that problem. So prepare with that question, whatever that question might be for you, right? It could be project related, it could be people related, it could be process related, it could be company related. But just knowing showing people that you care enough to learn something about that job requirement and having this and say, if I come in, you can even ask it like this. Suppose you hire me, what do you think I can solve in the first 1 week of me being there? Turn it around. Imagine that question. A smart manager will be like, here is a problem solver. She wants to come in and help make my life better. Who do you think I will hire? Some guy who's saying, will you ship a computer to me, or I don't have any questions, or somebody who's saying, Clarence, if I come in first 1 week, bro, how can I help you? Who do you think I'll hire? Think about it for a second, right? Somebody who is more empathetic towards me and why I'm hiring is who I would hire. Because why am I here hiring somebody? Because I have pain. There is a lot of suffering. There is a problem that needs to be solved. That is why we are going through this process of interviewing. And trust me, interviewing is very expensive. For a busy team, taking time off to interview is actually very, very difficult. Finding good resources to interview is very difficult. Getting their feedback is time consuming. So if you can nail it, you are the person. So all I'm saying is inform yourself. If there is something in the job description that you don't understand, ask that question. 2 or 5 minutes into that, say, hey, I want to make sure that I answer these questions in the right context. Can you tell me if that job description said this? Why did you guys add that? How is that relevant to the project that I will be coming and working on? And the moment you start saying the project that I will be coming and working on, what happens, guys? Subliminal messages to the person talking to you that you see yourself inside the company already. That is how Pepsi markets that nonsense that we drink, and Coke markets. They're putting it all over the place, and they're putting that kind of psychological and like iPad, right? iPad came with no instructions on how to use it. Why? When they created it, they put it in front of 1-year-olds and 2-year-olds who did not know anything, who couldn't communicate. What did the kid do? They started pressing randomly. And once it started interacting, it opened up, the kids started playing around. And then they said, yeah, we need to have these icons. We don't want to train people on how to use the iPad because that is expensive. And now look where we are. It's not by chance that they designed something. Go look up this company called IDEO, right? IDEO is the primary design company for many of the products that Apple has come out with. They have taken IDEOs and refined it. And for those of you who are teachers, I'm going to share something. I'm a big fan of design thinking. I told you that already. IDEO actually created a design thinking kit for teachers, which is online for free. I went and took that and I traveled across India advocating for design thinking in education. Because what are you doing now with Ravi? You're co-creating your own education with Ravi. You're reading something and coming back to class and saying, Ravi, I read this. What does this mean? Can you tell me more? Where is it used? That is co-creation. That is where education is growing. Kids are not going to sit and listen anymore. The teacher is going to facilitate. That's exactly what Maria Montessori did. She said, let children express their interest, what they're interested in, then give them time and space to go deep into it. So how is that relevant to us as adults? Doesn't matter what you learn. Learn one thing really well and go deep in it. How is that going to help you? Once you know how you learn and how best you learn, you can apply that technique to anything, whether it is security or whether it is Salesforce. You guys want to say hi to my wife, Karuna? Kana? Yes. Would you like to come say hi? If you're ready. So Karuna just got home. She had it looks like a long day. It's already 9:20 here. But Karuna is my wife, and she's actually much more qualified to do this session than I am. Just that Ravi can't get her on the calendar. because even I can't get her on my calendar. So anyway, Kanna, it's okay if you can't. I was just checking to see if you were up for it. Oh, you're on camera. Oh, so.
Hi, Ravi. So good to see you.
Boundara.
Oh, Karuna is asking me to remove this, so you guys can. Hey, hang on. Yeah.
So glad to see you, ma'am, after a long time.
I know. It is so good to see you. I keep hearing about all the good work you are doing. So thank you for that. And
so kind of him for all the encouragement, prayers.
So we have folks from Alabama, Chicago, Charlotte. Pretty big team.
A few people from Atlanta. Yeah.
I think that hello is for you, Karuna, from Sudha.
Hi, Sudha.
So if you have any questions, feel free to compile those questions. We can have a follow-up session. And, we have about 5 minutes. If you want to ask Karuna a question right now, here is your chance. This rarely happens, by the way. She just got home after a long day. So I'm not going to impose on her, but 5 minutes is okay, I think.
It doesn't look like tired at all. So, same energy. The first time when I met her at TA Craft.
Hey, Karuna, this is Jerusha. Actually, even your name was mentioned in our group, so I have sent the LinkedIn request to you too.
Oh, awesome. I will accept for sure.
Thank you, ma'am.
Any event I attend or any forum I participate in, that's pretty much the first thing I tell people. Make sure you look me up. It tells me that you got something useful out of the session. And it also is an indicator of how interested and vested you are in investing in your own network.
Thank you, ma'am.
Friends, please, if you have any questions, please.
I have no question, but I'd like to say hello to you. And I like the smile on your face after a very long day of work also. It's really energetic for me also. Like it's 10:30 for me, but I like awake totally now.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
So yeah, thank you so much for taking out the time to say hello to us. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you.
So Karuna used to be very active with most of the women's forums in Charlotte. And, she used to serve on multiple panels and, we were heavily involved in the community there. And now we are trying to build up that community in Austin. So we've been here about 6 months now. So, what I was ending the session with is giving you that introduction, right? So now that you heard what I said, and are trying to process it, I want to give you context. Everything is a negotiation. And like I said, your hesitancy in wanting to try this out without losing balance or without losing, that work-life family balance that you've accomplished now, don't be afraid to take one step and put it on the next step of that ladder. And I can assure you that things are going to fall into place. But it requires that communication, whether it's your manager or your spouse or your children. In fact, right now in the last 2 years, the whole dynamics have changed. Everybody is trying to figure out what is next for the kids. Because, I don't want to scare you guys, but look at what came out of China this evening, right? Just before I joined this call, I saw an article saying that a good part of Shanghai is shut down. And already chips that were manufactured there, car parts, they've shut down factories and, don't know whether it's a new variant or not, but that sort of thing is happening and kids are just going back to school again, right? So communicate with your kids, in every child, there is a adult and in every adult, there is a child. That is the conundrum. So even with your children, talk to them like they are adults and help them understand, why you're guiding them the way you're guiding them. And let them argue with you. Children arguing is a sign of intelligence. Same thing for adults. If you're if you can advocate for yourself, that there is nothing selfish about it. Same thing for a child. A child is actually wired to do that. That is how, you know, survival is happening, right? So think about it. For those of you who have concerns like that, I'm available later also if you just want to shoot questions. You want to call and chat, I'm cool with that. You guys want to do a resume session, we can do that. You guys want to do a LinkedIn session, we can do that. We can also do a LinkedIn and Twitter session maybe, where, you know, LinkedIn is your first stop. The second one for professional is Twitter. Everything else is just social media, right? Like Facebook. I'm not even on Facebook. I'm not on Instagram. But for those of you who are, you know, who are artistically inclined and you're creating art and you're trying to, you know, use Instagram to sell it, or, you know, those cooks who are good at, you know, if you're catering or something, we can talk about all of that. We don't have to talk only about technology. And these paths are all individual. Only time will tell how things wash out, but it's a great adventure. So remember that this is a foundation. Once you know the language, you can learn other things. But I think what Ravi has designed here is very foundational. You should know the lingua franca, which is what Agile training is giving you. You're getting like core skills in Salesforce, and then, you know, project management overall, right? Which is communication, risk management, those things we do intuitively. Now you have a, you know, a PMP style rubric to follow. So look at design thinking. That's another very easy thing to follow, right? So look at design thinking. Today, major corporations, including TCS and Wipro, they're going into design thinking in a big way. Design thinking is about co-creating the product with the customer. And when that is extended to education, students are co-creating and their administrators. And that's a good thing, right? The best school that is completely predicated on design thinking, coincidentally, is actually in Atlanta, Georgia. There is a Mount Vernon Presbyterian High School. They are a magnet school. From kindergarten through 12th grade is run on the design thinking principle, just as you have magnet schools for STEM. So Ravi, I think we are past, it's 10:30 Eastern time. I don't want to impose. This has been a wonderful experience and a joy for me. And again, congratulations to all of you. Nancy, design thinking, you will have to look it up.
The easiest way to look it up is just in Google, just say D school, D for design. If you say D school or design thinking, it will take you to the Stanford program and the details of the whole philosophy and the methodology.
So it actually originated from Stanford, and IDEO, the company that I mentioned earlier, is the one that really took it, refined it, and used it for product development. It is very simple. It's a very iterative thing, which is very similar to what you're learning in Agile. Only difference is you're putting the prototype out quickly, but the philosophy is different. Think about it. Fail fast, fail forward, which is it's okay to make a mistake, but if you're going to make a mistake, you don't know what you're doing, do it quickly, learn from it. What is failing forward? You're actually learning something and then you're moving forward. If you keep failing and falling in the same place, there is a problem, right? But if you fail and you are taking the next step, moving forward with what you learned doesn't work, that is failing forward. Design thinking gives those foundational principles so that everybody is on the same page and are willing to take that risk with you. And the philosophy is like, you know, come up with a working prototype as soon as possible. It doesn't have to be perfect, but you're giving the customers something to look at and think about.
It is, if I had to draw a parallel, I would say in Agile world, we say the MVP is a similar concept. And it's all about in a work setting of saying, I'm going to set the expectation that this is a trial before I do it. People usually struggle because the perception is you're creating production grade, but it's actually a trial and an experiment. As long as you say it is a trial, it goes fine.
And MVP is minimum viable product, right? In the startup world, That is the minimum feature set that you need to put the product into the market. Ravi, I'm done. You can close it out.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much for both of you. Yeah.
It was very informative. Thank you.
You're welcome, Ranjana.
Thank you.
You guys have been very patient. I know it's been a long session. So thank you again. Ravi, if it calls for, we'll be available again to maybe do a different kind of session based on what the class needs.
Thank you, Anna. Thank you so much.
All right.
Yeah. Good night.
Have a good night, everybody.
Yeah. Good
night. Bye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
Bye. Thank you so much.
Okay.